Catwoman. Sometimes an ally, sometimes an enemy. Sometimes she doesn't care about anyone and just wants money. But all the time, one thing is consistent. No matter who has filled those leather boots, she has remained a real sex symbol. The naughty nature shines off the black costume. It could be said that she is an anti-heroine, but most of the time she doesn't have good intentions. But despite that, she's helped Batman on more than one occasion. So in this video, we're going to peel off the layers of the Catwoman and see underneath the actors that have played Selina Kyle, and maybe even rank which actress did it best. But before we pounce further, please quickly hit the subscribe button. It's a small click for you, but a big deal for us, which helps us grow and bring you more videos that you would love to see. Thank you. And now let's travel back in time to see what made Catwoman so appealing. The Batman show of the 60s was a turning point where comic book superheroes started turning up on the TV. Everyone started enjoying adventures of the dynamic duo, a topic that we already covered in our previous video about the Joker. You can look for it on our channel, but here's a quick link anyway. The success of the show not only brought it to the big screen in 1966 with the first Bat movie, it also led to the characters in the series bringing big names in show business, making the person who replaced Julie Newmar for the role of Catwoman in the '66 movie the former Miss United States, Lee Meriwether. Continuing the cartoonish and irreverent style of the show, we had a Catwoman who took her name quite literally, meowing, purring, and licking her paws, collaborating with the Joker, the Penguin, and the Riddler to take down Batman, simply because she's evil and has to do evil things, and so on. Fast track to the 80s. Now, to get twisted, Burton's first Batman film was a box office hit, so a sequel was assured with a bigger budget and more renowned actors with more darkness. Batman Returns brought together actors such as Danny DeVito and Christopher Walken, and the insanely sexy and popular Michelle Pfeiffer. However, when casting for the role, options also included Susan Sarandon, Demi Moore, and even Madonna. And did you know the role initially had been given to Annette Bening from Bugsy? What? Many might wonder, but yes, Bening was already ready to enter the villain's costume when halfway through she had to leave the production because she got pregnant. That opened the door for another actress, and that's when Michelle Pfeiffer entered the production of Batman Returns.
Meow.
Pfeiffer had already achieved a legendary performance as Elvira Hancock in Scarface. Managing to make a character in the style of Burton, a woman was not only a sex symbol, but was a misfit, antisocial, and strange character. And that was what Burton wanted for this version of Catwoman. Pfeiffer had to prepare for the role by practicing yoga, doing kickboxing, and going to the gym in order to have the agility of a cat. And let's not forget the whip. Pfeiffer was now ready to get into the Catwoman suit, covered in stitches to give the impression of being a calico cat, and also to show Selina Kyle scars. And with all the pieces in place, the lights and cameras came on and the action began. Pfeiffer gave a fascinating performance between madness, sensuality, in her quest to take revenge on those who turned her into that feline foe. And with Burton having more directional freedom, he showed the eroticism that Catwoman uses to manipulate her enemies, including Batman, and the parents who were going to take their sons and daughters to a family movie did not like it very much. I mean, the dads didn't mind, but the wives might have felt a tad surprised and jealous, like sitting in a party and that one lady walks in a room with a sexy dress turning every man's head. But anyway, we got to see Pfeiffer's Catwoman, who possibly is the most iconic of the entire lot, and the public's favorite, who managed to show the deepest, most damaged, and twisted part of Selina Kyle, and living forever in our brains rent-free. But the DC sex symbol competition went up a notch when the 2000s arrived. Technology has changed, fashion has changed, and Catwoman has changed. Even though it wasn't accepted by all the family audiences, Pfeiffer managed to be remembered and loved enough by the general public for the film, so Warner Brothers planned a film starring the same Selina Kyle, played by Michelle Pfeiffer, and directed by Burton himself. But due to the creative problems of Warner with Burton, this did not go beyond pre-production, causing the project to be canceled. The project remained on the table for Warner. Years passed and they continued trying to make the project, looking for new protagonists such as Ashley Judd or Nicole Kidman from Batman Forever, but finally the one chosen for the spin-off was Halle Berry. Being an Oscar winner for Monsters Ball, a Bond girl, and Storm in the X-Men, the role of Catwoman would add another notch to her belt. The film has almost the same concept as Pfeiffer's Catwoman, a woman who lives in the shadow of others. But after being thrown off a building for knowing too much about a corrupt company, she gains the powers of cats and takes revenge on those who tried to kill her. And yes, this version of Catwoman had more abilities like a mutant. She literally had superpowers, such as climbing walls or being able to fall from very high heights without suffering or any damage, very similar to Spider-Man. And also, because the film takes place in the era when pop artists such as Beyoncé, Britney Spears, and Shakira were bringing provocative music videos, Catwoman used this trend to show the more erotic side of the character. And finally, everyone saw Barry's Catwoman, but for some reason back then, the fans didn't like what they saw. This brought a loss of at least $17 million for Warner. The film was seen almost as a parody of the character, with bad special effects and a direction that did not reflect Catwoman as a menacing character, but as a cosplay of the character in a movie with PlayStation 2 graphics, and the best part of this, Halle Berry knew it. The artist was the winner of nothing less than the award for the Worst Actress of the Year for this role, and she turned this problem into what it really is, a comedy.
Thank you for putting me in a piece of shit god-awful movie.
People took Halle Berry's Catwoman as a meme, turning it into a funny memory for fans. Although, maybe it was not so funny for Warner investors. But again, Halle, that version of the costume lives in our brains again, rent-free. Now for one of our favorites, the princess that goes dark. 8 years later, the Dark Knight saga has come to an end, and its third and final film, Dark Knight Rises, more characters were included, such as Bane, Robin, and of course Catwoman. Among the actresses who auditioned for the role were Jessica Biel, Keira Knightley, and even the next Harley Quinn, Lady Gaga. But the role was won by Anne Hathaway, who at first thought she was auditioning for the role of Harley Quinn. But after Nolan clarified the character, Hathaway licked her paws and jumped right on the bike. This new version of Catwoman showed the duality of her relationship with Batman, sometimes being a very useful ally to him, other times being a treacherous enemy who only cares about her own interest. Just like a real cat almost. This Catwoman would move away from the more sexualized parts of the character and show her more cunning side. Since being a thief by necessity, she knew how to get out of trouble as quickly as possible. And also, agility was an important factor in this Catwoman. And since Christopher Nolan is a director who prefers things to look as realistic as possible on screen, he asked Hathaway to do as many stunts as possible, and thus the role was even more memorable. Similar to the same merits given to Jackie Chan, Daniel Craig, or Tom Cruise for doing their own stunts. The film was a resounding success, the third highest grossing of 2012, right after The Avengers and Skyfall. And one of the most praised points of the film was Hathaway's performance as Selina Kyle, thus complementing her artistic career along with the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress that she won that year in Les Miserables. Her work brought back the affection of all the fans to Catwoman, especially that bike scene that also lives rent-free in people's brains. And now, 2022, 10 years after the end of the Nolan saga, we lived a very crazy events. Harry Styles released Harry's House, the world was recovering from COVID. People were returning in masses to the cinemas, and for that reason, in that year, The Batman was released, a reboot of the story of the Caped Crusader. And with that, they brought us a reinvention of the characters that we love and hate so much, and among them, Catwoman could not be missing. The film wanted to tell the origins of the Gotham Bat, being a rough and amateur vigilante, and since they were going to tell his origins, Catwoman was also going to be shown as a rookie, with a less elaborate costume and pulling off smaller heists with cheaper tools. This Catwoman would be in charge of low-profile operations in the underworld. and to embody her, they chose Zoe Kravitz, who was already quite well known for the HBO series Big Little Lies. Director Matt Reeves and the other producers agreed that Zoe Kravitz strongly resembled Catwoman from Batman Year One, the comic on which they based the film, showing a very great chemistry with Batman. This Selina Kyle does not show seduction only to manipulate Batman, but shows true affection and attraction towards him, because both have the same good intentions. The difference is that Catwoman does not use the most orthodox methods possible, making Batman unable to have a relationship, opening the door to future conflicts in the next Robert Pattinson Batman films. Since Kravitz is lucky enough to be the first actress to play Catwoman in more than one live-action film, showing that they can explore more aspects of the character in the next installments of The Bat, whose sequel will be released in the fall of 2026. But before that, we will be able to discover more of the Gotham's underworld in the next HBO series, The Penguin, premiering in September. Despite the turbulent journey that this character has gone through in theaters, being sometimes very seductive or opportunistic or in love, even funny, appearing in 5 live-action films, 13 movies, animated films, 10 TV shows, and 19 video games, Catwoman will continue to be one of the most iconic figures in the Batman universe. Not only as an anti-hero or villain, but as a key character. And we fans will have the honor of continuing to enjoy her character for years to come. So now your turn. Who's your favorite Catwoman and why? Which version of the Catwoman do you prefer? What new things could Kravitz bring to the table in the next installments? Drop a comment on this video. If you haven't already, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Also tell us what movies or characters or actors you'd like us to deep dive into next. This channel is produced by movie fans, for movie fans.